What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another upload. Thank you for joining. We got some exciting news for the red car. I just picked up some parts yesterday. I'm very excited to show you guys what I got. Also, we got a couple things for the SR in the mail. I need to order 3 more of these because, I mean, they just give you enough for one of the rods for some reason, so I got to order 3 more. But I didn't forget, and this thing will hopefully be torn apart soon. As you guys can probably tell from the title of the video or the thumbnail, we're doing a wide body on the rear of the red car. I was actually able to pick up a brand new set of Type 3 Origin rear overs. They're plus 55 millimeter, so they give me a lot more room for bigger wheels, bigger tire options, etc. Since the gray hatch took the garage spot, sadly the red car's been sitting outside, so I'm just letting it warm up right now. It's got a lot of condensation on the inside of the window, a little bit of water in there. I've just been idling it frequently and having the heat on so that way it doesn't get moldy and nasty in there. So once that's done, I'll bring this up here and we'll get started on cutting up my quarter panels. And this is something I've waited a long time to do because I don't really want to cut up my quarter panels because they're still in pretty good condition. But at this point, the red car, I'm just saying F it, it's a drift car. I just got to do it, man up, get it done, because I don't want to buy a set of wheels that are fit for the spec of stock quarter panels and then eventually go wide body. I just want to get it all done at once so that way I don't got to worry about it. Fans on. You guys are going to find out really quickly why I haven't been driving this thing. One reason is the steering rack and the power steering, and number 2 would be the transmission. I believe it's the pilot bushing that's bad, and I just haven't had the time to drop the transmission and replace it yet. There it is. The first step is going to be removing this factory antenna, as well as this little GoPro mount I have and the reflectors on the side, because these over fenders actually come all the way to the end of the body lines. And that's what I like most about these Origin fenders, that they go all the way up to the window seal, all the way up to the door jamb, all the way down to the body kit, so it actually covers the whole panel. I don't like those half quarter panel ones that don't really cover the whole thing. I think it looks a little tacky. It's kind of another reason why it took me so long to get over fenders, because I was waiting for the right ones to pop up on Marketplace. I'm gonna get started on that, just removing this antenna in here and these marker lights. Now I'm kind of just guessing which bolts I gotta remove here. This looks like it's the factory bracket for the jack, and then I think this might be the antenna, so I'm just gonna... Okay, so that is the antenna. A little bit of weight reduction here. We got the radio antenna out without damaging anything. This sticks up like that, and first you remove this grommet that's sitting in there. On the top, you very carefully have to grab some like channel locks or pliers and spin it counterclockwise, because it screws into the top here and squishes the quarter panel there. That's for anyone who's wondering how to take one of these out without damaging shit. I don't like having this little hole here, even though I'm gonna have a over fender covering it. I'm gonna take myself a 7/8 inch little grommet, rubber grommet, and squish that guy in there, and then we'll have the over fender sitting on top of it. But if it does make the over fender pop out a little bit, I'll just remove it and just kind of deal with it, I guess. We got one out. I couldn't get a good angle to film while I did that, so getting this out is just simply removing the light by turning it counterclockwise. Removing these 2 10mm bolts off this bracket. You remove the bracket, and then the light should just push right out. And just be very careful because these break easily. I'll just be removing the bumper, which is actually attached to my valves. I'm just gonna take those things off really quick and get it out of the way. Bunch of 8mm nuts. We got the bumper, and then I took the side skirts off as well because they actually tuck under those too. Next step, I'm just gonna jack it up and do the one part I'm actually pretty terrified of doing, and marking out. I don't know exactly how far high I should go and how wide. I'm just going based off what I've seen other people do and just trying to get that top measurement above that body line, just like, you know, 3 inches, 2 inches above it, and call it a day there. I got the overs test fitted, and man, it really makes the wing and the tail lights, just everything, it kind of pieces everything together, especially with the inverted hatch. Man, it looks good. I didn't really update you guys on the last things I did on the red car, which I put all new suspension arm GK Tech kit, as well as new lower control arms, and I did ball joints up front. as well as getting a brand new set of Feel coilovers. Reading slick. Well, here goes nothing. I've been sledgehammering this quarter panel for a while, and I got it to a point where I'm pretty happy. Instead of doing those little slits and then just wrapping it above the quarter panel like most people do, I wanted to just hammer it up, make it look nicer, and then weld all the way around, put some seam sealer in. I'd say that's a bit of room for some big Johns, some big wheels. And yeah, I don't think I'm gonna film the other side since it's just me filming and working on this stuff. So it'll just be this one side where I walk you guys through, and then I'll get a video of what it looks like after. Okay, off camera, I got the passenger side done as much as I could. It did not go nearly as smooth as the driver's side because some of this got kinked up and I lost the distance to make it all the way to the quarter panel, and we had a big split here. Pretty exhausted after doing all that, so I may just call it a day and then come back tomorrow and finish off with the grinding, trimming, and the welding of it. After that, we'll get into mocking up the QPs more permanently than just having them taped up. We're back at it again next day on the red car. I peeled back the inner well a little bit so that way I can grind in there, and then we're gonna start the welding process. And this side didn't end up as clean, so I ended up having to actually notch them out a little bit so I can get them to meet the quarter panel. I think it'll be all right. I just have a little more welding to do on the side. Oh well. We got it ground down pretty good on both sides here. Yeah, this looks really ugly. I can't wait to cover all this up. But I got the welder out. I'm gonna do a few test runs on some scrap metal and see what I can do. I am by no means a welder. Did a few test passes on my little spare piece here. Got a nice little ground figured out. Now, let's just hope I don't suck. We got this side welded up. It looks like absolute dog water, but I mean, as long as they hold, I'm okay with it. From the beginning, I definitely had way too high a heat all the way down to here. And I started getting a rhythm right here, and then it seems like I would just get a rhythm and then just kind of start sucking again. So I turned the heat down and the wire speed down just a little bit, and it seemed to help out because this metal is really thin. Yeah, now I just gotta do a little bit of grinding, kind of make it look a little better, I guess. It's not really gonna matter. And then I'll do seam sealer. I'm gonna go ahead and do the passenger side off camera because I mean, you guys get the idea and you don't really need to see me boogering up more welds. And I'm just gonna try and get it done as quickly as possible, try and get a little bit better at welding because it's pretty horrendous. I'll see you guys in a little bit. I actually ended up going back to the hardware store and getting some different sealant. It's 500-degree RTV high heat. Purpose for that because when we're drifting, sparks fly and it gets really hot in there. To say that's probably my favorite process of this install so far because I get to cover up all those shitty welds and it's super fast and easy. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the passenger side and then we're gonna let this stuff dry. I think maybe overnight, I'm not sure. And then we'll start mocking up the QPs. Little progress update here. This was a very painful, a little bit stressful process for me, so I didn't really take the time to film all of it, and plus it got really dark. Majority of the riv nuts installed on this side looks really nice. I'm pretty pleased with the fitment. However, there's just a little bit of issue here. I might extend the fiberglass, just depends on how much I end up carrying later on. I don't have this part done because the bumper wraps around and I want to do the bumper ones on each side at the same time. But we got the side skirt all dialed in, which is pretty cool. I also didn't film the passenger side because I thought that side was difficult. This side has been a pain in the ass to try and get the gas door to line up. There's quite a bit of excess fiberglass in here, and I've probably trimmed 1/2 to 3/4 inch on most of that just so I can get the gas lid to open. But now that I got that ready to go, I started riv nutting, and I figured I'd show you guys the riv nut process, at least on one of them. I only have one left, or 2 left, and I'm waiting for some others to come in the mail because I can't seem to find them anywhere. I mean, a little bit of struggle with this side because I have to have a little bit of a gap up top here to make the gas door work, and if anything, I don't want to be stuck at the gas station not being able to open my gas lid, so I made this a priority over that. And then the tail light kind of fits a little weird on this side. This side has a little nice gap and it actually looks good, but on this side, when the QP sits, it's directly like on the tail light. I'm gonna have to do some trimming there, but other than that, it's looking pretty good. As far as the riv nut, I got this little cheap Amazon riv nutter. It's like 30 bucks or something. You really can't beat that, and it came with these riv nuts. So if you don't have one of these, I highly recommend getting one, because this way I can just remove the quarter panel instead of having to drill out all the rivets and then re-rivet everything. I can just take the panel off and screw it back on. In order to get this to work, you got to drill out a hole big enough to fit the riv nut in flush, but not too big to where when it squishes it doesn't stay. So you got to find the right drill bit size, screw it on there, and you want to keep it as level as possible while you're doing this. Otherwise, your hardware is not going to want to go in properly, and you just squeeze it without moving the riv nut tool as much as possible, and then you simply just unscrew it, and there you have a nice little spot to thread in some hardware. Just like that. Here's an example of what a riv nut looks like when it penetrates behind the metal. I use this to calibrate the little bump stop here, make sure I wasn't under or over squishing. So I tested it on this extra piece of metal beforehand. You waste a riv nut, but I promise you it's worth it sometimes if you're not sure. Anyway, the riv nut will originally look like that, and it's got these little ridges there, and those ridges are actually what squish. So you drill that hole, put it in there, and then you riv nut it, and it squishes behind the surface, and that's what actually keeps it in place. I don't know, I figured I'd just show that so you guys could get an example of what it looks like. I think it's pretty damn cool. You guys can tell it doesn't quite go up to the window line as the driver's side does, and then it has that funky little gap here just like the other side as well. But I mean, that's okay because I can actually open my gas door. Pretty cool. Well, fortunately guys, I gotta end the video off right here. We got the wide body like 90% done, I should say. It's just gonna be another 3 days before I get the riv nuts in the mail, and then probably take another 5 days to get uploaded, so I figured I'd just end it here. I did get my ARP head studs and the rest of my thrust washers, my main bearing, and then my head gasket. Next thing I need to buy is a harmonic balancer, and we're about ready to tear into that SR and get this hog driving. Oh, I also got some seats for the S13. I got a car cover that I just bought today. I'll get that out of the way. But yeah, wow. And I reverted the steering wheel to OEM because it looks better. Fuck that little blue wheel. Yeah, this thing's coming along nicely. I appreciate you guys if you stuck along this far in the video. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, all those good things. Comment, let me know what you guys think of the wide body and the 240, and we'll see you in the next one.